Yayasa Adigamaya Nibbanasa Sichikiriyaya Yadidan Chattaro Satipatthana. These four foundations of mindfulness is for the purifications of beings, for the overcoming of sorrow and lamentation, for the disappearance of pain and grief, for reaching the noble path, for the realizations of Nibbana. You practice Vipassana meditation if you want to reach the noble path. Noble path means a type of consciousness that appears at the moment of your realization. When you realize the truth, when you realize Nibbana, there arises in you a type of consciousness that is called path consciousness. It is called path consciousness because when you have reached this stage of consciousness, you can be certain to reach Nibbana on this path. It will surely lead there. You practice Vipassana meditation if you want to realize Nibbana. We can say that reaching the noble path means reaching the state of path consciousness, and realizing Nibbana means reaching this state of fruition consciousness. Immediately after the path consciousness comes a fruition consciousness. And both the path consciousness and the fruition consciousness take Nibbana as their object. They both perceive Nibbana directly. Either of these two moments can be called moments of realizing Nibbana. So Buddha declared that this is the only way to realize Nibbana, to reaching the noble path. And what is this only path? It is none other than the way of the four foundations of mindfulness. Now you are practicing. Buddha was the first person who became enlightened. Then he taught other beings, and the other beings also became enlightened. Those who gained enlightenment following the teaching of the Buddha are called savakas or disciples. Now the enlightenment of the Buddha and the enlightenment of the disciple, are they the same or are they different? We must say that they are different. Enlightenment of the Buddha is accompanied by some types of knowledge that are peculiar to Buddhas only. The virtues of Avinika, As soon as Buddha became enlightened, he also gained Sabhinyutanyana, omniscience. He also gained what is called Mahakaruna, the great compassion, and there are other kinds of wisdom or knowledge that Buddha gained. Those knowledge are not shared by his disciple. So in that sense, the enlightenment of the Buddhas is different from the enlightenment of disciple. A disciple may become enlightened, but he or she will not gain along with enlightenment, omniscience, great compassion, etc. Also, with regard to eradicating mental defilements, there is a little difference. Buddhas eradicate mental defilements altogether, and the Arahants or disciple eradicate mental defilements altogether. But there is a difference. You already know that difference. When Buddha eradicate mental defilements, their eradication is total, without any vasana. However, when disciples or arahants eradicate mental defilements, they are unable to get rid of that vasana, although they have eradicated all mental defilements. There is a difference between the eradications of mental defilements by the Buddhas and by the disciple. The word vasana is often translated as residue or trace. Simply, habit. So vasana is a certain power dependent upon mental defilements. So vasana is not a mental defilements, but some power of these mental defilements, that is vasana. Through that power, a person who has eradicated all mental defilements may still have some behavior which is similar to the behavior of those who have not eradicated mental defilements. That is what we call vasana. That vasana the disciples are unable to get rid of. There may be some behavior of some person who have not yet gained enlightenment, and a person who has gained enlightenment may still have that kinds of behavior. It is similar to those who have not eradicated mental defilements. The power of mental defilements is called vasana. When Buddhas eradicate mental defilements, they eradicate vasana along with mental defilements. But when arahants or disciples get rid of mental defilements, they are unable to get rid of vasana. So vasana remains with them along all mental defilements are gone from their minds. If you reflect on the virtues of the Buddha, iti piso bhagava araham, because of this the Blessed One is called Araham. The Blessed One is worthy of receiving the special veneration of all humans, devas, brahmas, because of being fulfilled with extraordinary qualities of morality, concentration, wisdom, liberation, knowledge of liberation. Because of this, the Blessed One is called Arahant, who is far away from mental defilements. Because of this, the Blessed One is called Arahant, who has eradicated vasana, residues or trace along with mental defilements. Because of this, the Blessed One is called Arahant, who has broken the spokes of the wheels of existence. Because of this, the Blessed One is called Arahant, who has nothing to conceal and is always pure, whether in public or in private. So this quality is Buddha eradicate vasana, residue or trace along with mental defilements. So we have to reflect and pay homage to the Buddha by reflecting the virtues of Arahant. Can you follow me? Iti piso bhagava Arahant. Because of this, the Blessed One is called Arahant, who has eradicated vasana, residue or trace, along with all mental defilements. Because of this, the Blessed One is called Arahant, who has eradicated vasana, residue or trace, along with all kinds of mental defilements. We pay homage to this Buddha who eradicated vasana, residue or trace, along with all mental defilements. So these are the qualities of Buddha, not the same with ordinary Arahant. There was a story, Arahant Bilinda Vicha. The Venerable Bilinda Vicha was an Arahant. During the time of the Buddha, he came from a very rich caste, Brahmin family. So naturally he was very proud. So in those days, people of high caste addressed those people of low caste as wicked men or wretched men. In Pali it's called Vasala or something like that. So when they were addressed like like in this way. So Arhan Bilenda Vicha must have addressed people Vasala for many lives, for 500 lives. So even after he became an Arhan, he still addressed people as wretched men or Vasala. So he was unable to shake off his bad habit of calling people wretched person or wicked person. It's no good. But his wasana. So at one time, a farmer gathered some earth and some roots or herbs or something which is used as medicine. So that farmer, that man put them on a cart and went to the city. On his way, he met the Venerable Bilinda Vaja, who was Arahant. So the Venerable Bilinda Vaja asked him, Vasala, wretched person, what are you carrying? What are these? So Arahant Bilinda Vaja asked him. So the man was angry with the Venerable Bilinda Vaja. So he said opposite. They are droppings of rats. So that man answered to the Bilinda Vaja Arahant. Then the farmer went to the city, and when he was going to sell his herbs, he found, to his amazement, he was amazed. All his herbs had turned into the droppings of rats. So he's amazed. Then he told his friends, and when his friend saw this case, they knew that monk, that venerable must be Venerable Bilinda Vaja. You must have met the Venerable Bilinda Vaja. So they advised that farmer to go and fetch the Venerable and ask pardon from him. So he went after him quickly. And when he met the Venerable Bilinda Vaja, the Venerable asked again, Vasala, wretched person, what are these? And this time the man told the truth, that they are ups. So all the droppings of the rats turn back into the original ups. So in this story you understand, although Bilinda Vaja was an Arahant, although he had eradicated all mental defilements, although he had no ill will in his mind, still he was unable to get rid of this vasana, bad habit of calling people wretched person or something like that. In Pali it is vasala. So the vasana residue is that much difficult to get rid of. So we need to understand if we have bad habits, it is not good. But Buddhas, when they eradicated mental defilements, they eradicate the vasana residue along with their mental defilements. So there is a difference between the eradications of mental defilements by Buddha and by Arahants. And can there be enlightened person outside the Buddha's dispensation? Can there be person who are enlightened other than Buddhists? When Buddha was on his deathbed, about to pass away, a few hours later, an ascetic Subhada came to him and asked a question. Whether the teacher of the other sects or other religions were omniscience as they claimed themselves to be, and Buddha put aside the question. Then Buddha gave another answer. Buddha's answer was, in whatever Dhamma Vinaya, Dhamma and discipline, in whatever dispensation, the Noble Eightfold Path is not found, then the ascetic samana of the first, ascetic samana of the second, the ascetic samana of the third, and the ascetic samana of the fourth grade are also not found. But in whatever Dhamma and discipline, the Noble Eightfold Path is found, then there are also found the ascetic of the first, the second, the third, and the fourth grade. That means in whatever religions, there is the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, where there is the practice of vipassana, then there can be those who became enlightened in those religions. But if there is no practice of the Noble Eightfold Path, if there is no practice of vipassana, there can be no person who gain enlightenment. And as a meditator, you know, enlightenment is the outcome of vipassana meditation. The practice of vipassana meditation and the practice of the Noble Eightfold Path are the same. So in this case, we cannot say superficially that there can be no enlightened person outside the Buddha's dispensation. But actually, the practice of vipassana is found only in Buddhism. Only when people practice vipassana meditation can they become enlightened. So practically speaking, we say there can be no enlightened person outside the Buddha's dispensation. During the time of the Buddha, It was true because Buddha said, the other schools are devoid of true ascetics. That means there are no ascetics or no monks who have eradicated mental defilements in those schools. So if you want to be considerate, you may say, if there is the practice of vipassana, or if there is the practice of Noble Eightfold Path in a certain religions, then there can be enlightened person in that religions. As the realizations of the Four Noble Truths, enlightenment is just one. Regarding the eradications of mental defilements, there are four kinds of enlightenment, four stages of enlightenment. The first stage is called the stage of stream entry, Sotapanna. Stream entry means entering into the stream of the noble path. Now when something gets into a stream, it is sure to reach a river or the ocean. Suppose somebody gets into the streams of a river. When he gets into the river, then he is sure to reach the ocean. In the same way, when a person has reached the streams of the noble path, you are sure to reach Nibbana. The first entering into the streams of the noble path is called the stage of stream entry, or the stage of reaching the stream. In Pali it is called Sotapatti. So this is the first stage of enlightenment. When you reach this stage, you are able to eradicate two kinds of mental defilements, Sakaya Ditti and Vichikicca, wrong view and doubt. So when you have reached this stage, which is called as Sotapanna, has no wrong view, has no wrong view regarding the self, regarding the soul, regarding the law of karma, and so on. And also you have no doubt. No doubt about the true Buddha, no doubt about the true Dhamma, and no doubt about the true Sangha, and no doubt about the practice, no doubt about the doctrine of dependent origination, and so on. So when a person who is at this stage is able to eradicate these two mental defilements, once you are eradicated, once these defilements are eradicated, they will never arise in you, they will never arise in your mind. So these defilements are totally destroyed. Also, such a person will be reborn at most 7 times in the future. He or she will be reborn in the human realm or in the realms of devas. That means a person who has reached the first stage will not be reborn in the four woeful state. After reaching the first stage, an enlightened person will continue his or her practice of vipassana. As the result of that vipassana practice, he or she will reach the second stage. The second stage of enlightenment is called the stage of once returning Sakadagami. That means by way of rebirth, he or she will come back to this human world only once. Come back means he or she will come back to this human world only once. He is called Sakadagami or once returning. At this Sakadagami stage, a meditator does not eradicate any more mental defilements, but he or she makes the remaining mental defilements cleaner or weaker. There still remain mental defilements with him or her, but these mental defilements are very weak, so they cannot dredge him or her to the four woeful states. And he or she will have only two modes rebirths in the worlds of sensual sphere or in the sense sphere. That means in the worlds of human beings and in the worlds of devas. So a person at the second stage, suppose a meditator reached the second stage as a human being, then after his death here, he will be reborn in the realms of devas. Then from the realms, he will die, and then he will be reborn as a human being again. That is why he is called once returner. He comes back to this human world one time. In order to come back here, he has to be reborn in the realms of devas once, and then come back to the human world and take rebirth. So he has two more rebirths in the realms of sense sphere. If he or she carries on this, on his or her practice of vipassana, he or she may, as a result of vipassana, reach the third stage. The third stage is called the stage of non-returning, anagami. That means not coming back to this realms of sense sphere. That means not coming back to the realms of human beings and to the realms of devas. At this stage, he or she eradicates two more mental defilements, kamit, kamaraga and vyabhada, sensual lust and ill will, or dosa, or hate, or anger. He or she eradicates. So when a meditator who has reached this stage, the third stage, Nagami stage, we have no attachment to the sense object, and he or she is incapable of getting angry, since fear is a kind of anger. Fear is regarded as a kind of anger. He or she will not have any fear. It is the stage of non-returning anagami. After that, he or she will be reborn in the pure abodes of Brahmas. That means he will definitely get jhanas before he dies, and then will be reborn in the worlds of Brahma, that is called the abodes of pure beings, Sota Vasa. And the meditators who has reached the third stage of enlightenment, we have no attachment to his life as a human beings, no attachment to his belongings, no attachment to person, as so on. So in this respect, he or she is almost like an arahant. Unlike an arahant, he or she still has attachment to the realms of Brahmas. That is why he is reborn in the worlds of Brahmas. If meditator practice further, he or she may reach the fourth stage of enlightenment. The stage is called the stage of arahantship. It is a stage of the worthy one, arahant, or the stage of a person who has eradicated all mental defilements. So the fourth stage is the highest stage of enlightenment. There is no higher stage than this stage. When meditator reach this stage, the stage of arahant, he or she eradicates all the remaining mental defilements. So there are no mental defilements remaining with him or her. All mental defilements are gone. As you understand, something remains with him or her, and that is the vasana residue, the power of mental defilements. That vasana, bad habit, it is like there is alcohol in the bottle, and you throw all the alcohol outside from the bottle. There's no more alcohol in the bottle, but stay there remains smell. So vasana is like this. No more mental defilements, but there remain only residue or bad habits. So a person who becomes an arahant, gains purity of mind, his or her mind is totally purified from all mental defilements. That means he or she is incapable of being attached to anything at all, either in the worlds of sense or in the worlds of Brahma. He or she is incapable of getting angry. He or she is incapable of fear. He or she is incapable of jealousy and so on. So in that respect, his or her mind, or her mind is totally pure. Say his mind is pure, there are no mental defilements in his mind. Since there are no mental defilements, there is no rebirth for him or her. Among the mental defilements is attachment or craving, which is the one that produces rebirth. So the Arahant has eradicated all mental defilements, including tanha, craving. There is no mental defilements that could create a new life. So an Arahant is like, maybe like a fire. There is no more fuel. Since there is no more fuel, there is no fire. Since there is no craving, especially craving for existence, there is no existence for him or her in the future. So an Arahant is described as one who is holding his or her last body. That means this life in which he or she becomes an Arahant is the last of his or her lives. He has no more lives, or he has no more rebirths in the future. So when we say a Sotapanna will be reborn 7 more times, we mean that Sotapanna remains a Sotapanna until his death, and he will not reach the higher stage in the future lives until the 7th life. In the 7th life, he or she will definitely reach the higher stage until the 4th stage. He will become an Arahant and leave the rounds of rebirths. When we say he will be reborn 7 times only, that means if he does not reach the higher stages before the 7th rebirth, if he reach the higher stages in this life, he will become a Sakadagami, or he will become an Anagami. In this case, he will not be reborn 7 times. So when you practice Vipassana meditation, you all aim at reaching those stages of enlightenment. You will reach these stages only when your practice of Vipassana gets mature, or when you are successful with your Vipassana practice. According to the advice of the Buddha, Even, even after reaching the first stage, meditators are not to be satisfied with that. They should strive to reach the second stage. After reaching the second stage, they are not to be satisfied. They are to try to reach the third stage, and at the third stage, they must also try to reach the fourth stage. So we satisfy when we reach the first stage. But here, Buddha advises that you are not to be satisfied with just the practice of sila, just the practice of concentration, and even reaching the first stage, second stage, the third stage of enlightenment. Meditators are to strive until you reach the fourth stage. This is the Buddha wish. That is because Buddha's aim is to get out of all suffering. So long as we are in this samsara, the rounds of rebirth, even though we may be reborn as Brahmas who live a very long time, stay according to the definitions given by the Buddha, the life of a Brahma is also dukkha, suffering. Because the life of a Brahma is impermanent, it has a beginning and an end. So when we say we want to get out of suffering, we must want to get out of anything that is suffering. So any life, any existence is suffering. When we try to get out of suffering, actually we try to get out of this samsara, we try to get out of this rounds of rebirth. So you understand the nature of suffering. During the practice of meditation, you see the nature of suffering in the psychophysical phenomena, in the kaya, vedana, citta, dhamma. And you continuously practice, diligently practice to get out of this rounds of suffering, rounds of rebirth. So we have to stop our discourse for today. May your practice of vipassana meditation diligently lead you ultimately to reach the highest stage. By practicing vipassana meditation, by observing every phenomena occurring at the six senses, may all yogis be liberated from all suffering. May all meditators realize the real peace in the very near future.